letter that Mr. Braun read. Mr. Braun, may I read this letter? The letter Mr. Ishak sent, I hadn't seen it. It was sent, as you said, to Jay Gullo on December 7th. I have here a letter dated today from the town's attorney, and we are authorized to read it publicly so that you can get updated.
I'm not sure that's true, but at your risk, go ahead and read it.
Okay, thank you, sir. From the office of Jay Gullo, attorney at law, to Paul Ishak, regarding your client Keith Campbell and my client Town of Rising Sun. Dear Mr. Ishak, I have received your letter of December 7th, 2012. The town has also forwarded a copy of both petitions submitted by your client. One is entitled Petition for the Removal of Town Administrator, and the other is entitled Petition for Referendum Ordinance 2012-03. Your letter appears to address the latter petition. In your letter, you cite Article 11E, Section 4, and Article 23A, Section 13F, as authority supporting the contention that said petition, if it contains 20% of the registered voters of Rising Sun, requires that Ordinance 2012-03 be submitted to the voters for referendum election. I note you cited Article 23A, Section 13F. However, I assume that's a typographical error, and your intention was to cite Article 23A, Section 13G. Later in your letter, you also contend that Article 23A, quote, suspended the effectiveness of the proposed amendments. You are incorrect on both counts. There is case law available which will be instructive in the operation of Article 23A, Sections 11 to 18, as related to Article 11E, Section 4 of the Maryland Constitution. However, the salient point of this matter is that Ordinance 2012-03 is not a charter resolution. It did not amend the Charter of Rising Sun, but rather amended sections of the existing town code. As this piece of legislation does not propose amendments to the town charter, the provisions you cite in Article 23A are inapplicable. Further, as the Charter of Rising Sun does not contain provisions which allow for a referendum of normal legislative resolutions and ordinances, no authority exists to validate the petition submitted by your client. Thus, no referendum is required, and the effectiveness of the legislation is not stayed. Accordingly, to answer the question posed in your letter, no further action was taken by the mayor and commissioners regarding the petition. It is my understanding that both petitions presented by Mr. Campbell were received at one of the mayor and commissioners' meetings and were treated as a form of citizen input and expression. You had suggested that these matters may best be left to the circuit court to decide, and it is certainly your client's prerogative to seek redress in such a matter. However, it should also be noted that there is a plethora of case law which holds the municipal authorities have broad legislative discretion to conduct local affairs, and the court is hesitant to substitute its judgment in the place of the legislative process. Your letter also contained numerous requests for copies of documents made under the Access to Public Records section of the state government article. While I am not the custodian of the town's records, I will forward your request to the town for action in compliance with the terms of the statute, and then respond to you on their behalf. Very truly yours, Jack A. Gullo, Jr. That letter was just dated today. We just received it in our packets this evening. I hope, Mr. Braun, that addresses, since you read that letter, we just got this letter tonight. It's dated today, so I hope that addresses what you brought before us. Thank you very much.
Well, the article put in this letter is Maryland Constitutional. Maryland Constitution, Article XI-E, Section 4. It's not 23A of the Code Law. So it doesn't answer the question posed in this letter. But that's all right.
So in other words, you're simply publicly disagreeing with the town attorney as a town officer. That's helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Braun.
I'm sure you'll get a response back. So.
Oh, I'm sure we will, but I want to update you so you didn't have to wait for a
I think
response.
we're discussing a legal matter, and I'm a little hesitant to do that, but it's done now, so, okay. Eric Knudsen.
Good evening. I'm Eric Knudsen. Mr. Fisher's known me for most of my life. He doesn't pronounce the name.
All your life.
Pardon?
All your
Not
life.
all my life, no. I was 3 when I moved here. I'm not a town resident, but I do operate a business within town. We custom raise dairy calves. And I just wanted to publicly express my appreciation to the commissioners for their judgment, their restraint, and their perseverance. It's nice to see action being done. It doesn't always seem like it's being done as fast as I'd like to see it being done, but I certainly appreciate all your efforts. I'd also, I guess as we talk about, and I feel kind of apologetic because I wasn't allowed to vote in the last election, what you guys have to deal with, both what we may hear about and the things we don't hear about. But I would like to suggest, I guess, as you eventually get time to work on the strategic plan for the town, that to try and include some visionaries for the town. I think the town has a tremendous potential with certain businesses, certain areas, certain growth aspects. And I would just encourage you to include some outside opinions, include some citizen input, because I think there's some important decisions in the next couple of years that could affect us for decades. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff Offenbach.
I know the hour is late, and I would defer, but as the topic is going to be evident that it wouldn't be appropriate to give this in January. But before I say that, I do want to say one thing. Some of the people that should hear this aren't here. Most of you folks have been very respectful, but it is a shame not to respect people when they're speaking in this public meeting. You keep your mouth shut and you listen, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. I'm sorry for being, but I love the First Amendment. And I don't care if I don't like what you say, I will respect your right to say it. So please, let's have some manners and civility and respect one another's rights no matter how much we disagree with. This is only 2 pages and I made it big so I could read it. As I've stated before at town meetings, I have great dismay when contemplating the political and cultural direction our nation is moving. Less freedom, more government and involvement in our lives. That is government involvement in our lives. And I believe, based on my personal beliefs, an inevitable reckoning with our Creator, who providentially gave to America men who, guided by a biblical worldview, produced the world's most effective form of government any part of mankind has been privileged to enjoy. We are blessed people. We need to be thankful, and to our Creator. I lost my place, I'm sorry. But I now fear that which I now fear, that is our liberties, has been gravely assaulted for at least the last 50+ years. And the liberties which our constitutions, both state and federal, and our Declaration of Independence were designed to guard are being very rapidly diminished. Article 40 of the Constitution of the State of Maryland, Declaration of Rights, reads that liberty of the press ought to be inviolably preserved, that every citizen of the state ought to be allowed to speak, write, and publish his sentiments on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that of privilege, which would be libel and slander. At this time of the year, it may be evident to you the not so subtle attempt to take Jesus Christ out of the celebration of Christmas. Court cases seem to arise every year in this country, seeking to ban or limit the display of the nativity scene, the commercialization of the Christmas season into a mostly holiday retail extravaganza, the almost criminal attempt in public schools to eliminate the true purpose of Christmas, which is to celebrate the birth of Christ, and not to be the profit season for retail businesses, or labor's vacation season, or government's holiday season, or the school system's educational sabbatical, or to honor other religious observances which happen to be celebrated at this time of the year. And the incredible and regrettably very successful eradication of the very use of the word Christmas seems almost a fait accompli. We've got holiday trees and holiday season and holiday this and holiday that, but very little use of the word Christmas. I believe we have over the years been conformed to the disuse of the word Christmas and to its lack of connection with its true significance. So in the spirit of political incorrectness, offering my sentiments under the protection of Article 40, and encouraging this town and its residents to not, because of political correctness, meddle with the good traditions that honor the true reason for Christmas, but rather to restore them, I bid you all a Merry Christmas. And I offer my prayer to the Almighty that He might bless America in 2013 with a retention of the liberties we still do possess and a cessation of any further erosion of them. And that there may be a great and growing awareness on the part of the American people to our need to return to our roots, that is, to our Creator, acknowledged in the Declaration of Independence as the benefactor of our rights, and the God revealed in the pages of the Holy Bible as the author of the Christian religion, which is and was the prevailing religion of the founding of this nation, and to the principles upon which our government was originally structured. And again, I say Merry Christmas and God bless America yet again.
How about a rising sun, Jeff? Well, I thank all of you. Is there anybody else that will? Okay,
Yes.
now,
Now can I talk?
yes,
Thank you.
please.
Starting timer. Well, formality. So as we go into the holidays, I know a lot of us like to celebrate with food. We've had several town events that have had food, such as the library, other places, the caroling. There are those of us out there with severe food allergies. I would like to take the time to remind people about those. The main 8 that we refer to them as peanuts, tree nuts, wheat, casein, which is also known as milk, sorry for those in the dairy, soy, eggs, fish, and shellfish. So these are something when you're preparing your holiday meals or anything like that to be aware of, read labels. If you have a box, save the box for people coming over. Also something else, the food, also known as FAN, Food Allergy and Anaphylaxis Network, and Food Allergy Initiative have merged and they start their new program in January. I know it's a lot of F's. It is now Food Allergy Research Education. And that new website launches in January. So if anyone's looking at anything about cross-contamination, what products are safe, there's no real safe list for us out there because stuff changes daily. I used to be able to eat M&Ms or Oreos. I can't anymore. I miss them very dearly, but I can't have Chinese food. I miss it. But we move on, we make our own things, we celebrate in our own ways, and we embrace everything. So whether it's Christmas or Yule, which predates Christmas, or we have Hanukkah, which we can't forget those, because we're celebrating Christmas, we also have Hanukkah. Those out there, and anybody who doesn't celebrate that just is celebrating family. Take the time, food allergies. Please remember us. Please remember that 1 in 5 kids now has a food allergy. That is a statistic coming from Dan. It's a very scary statistic. We don't know why, but please keep that in mind when you take things to school. There's brands out there like Safe for School that you can take to school that are safe, but we request that you take things like apples and bananas that our school nurses really love. So that's what I have to say with that. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask a question? Did I see Dave Warnick back there?
Yeah, I think he's hiding.
Yeah,
I thought your wife would mention, I thought your anniversary was today.
yeah, I ate dinner and she said,
Oh, well,
"Oh,
happy anniversary to you and your wife.
No, she gave me permission to leave.
Happy anniversary.
I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, right?
Anyone else who
I
cares
took
to
too many.
speak?
Yeah, I'll take a shot.
I have section.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, citizens. I don't like coming to these things. I mean, I probably said that. I've got, like everybody else, better things to do. I apologize. I came in late, came and gone. I had to recently just leave to take my daughter home. And of course, my wife comes home with that, which she blames on you, Mayor Fisher. So, I mean, I guess when I'll see the tape, I'll know exactly what happened, but I'm sure everybody in this room saw it, so I wanted to give you the chance to explain to me why one of the people that pays your salary, because, you know, I've always believed in respect for your elders, but you work for me. And in this situation, elders does not play into it. I mean, when you talk about people like, nobody's against you or for you. I got grievances against everybody at this table. You know, I mean, and if anybody wants to talk to me about it, give me an email, we can sit down, and I'll tell you what's wrong with you. And I'm very, very good at that. You can ask my wife, unfortunately. But, I mean, most of my grievances are against you, because I don't think you're doing your job, and I don't really think you've done anything, except get in the way of things, but I would just like to give you the opportunity to explain to me why my wife came home crying.
Well, that's a sincere emotion of mine. I would rather be crying than doing what I'm doing, to tell you the truth. So that's very responsive, you know.
I definitely understand what crying is. We don't have to explain that. But I would
Well-
appreciate you explaining why she was so upset she was crying.
You mocked her.
That I said, so do I feel like crying.
I don't.
No, it wasn't
Crying,
done
you
in
should.
that way.
Okay, well, I guess I'll see the tape. And we'll have to address that later. The first thing, excuse me, I'd like to thank Commissioner Travis for getting these meetings up on the YouTube, because quite honestly, I'm hoping Commissioner Berkowitz watches them. He's never here, and I know I saw in the paper, he talked about he's got work issues, family issues, vacation issues. I don't know if he talked about what this issue was. But I also appreciate Commissioner Osborne for, I mean, clearly putting a motion forth that I would assume Commissioner Berkowitz would put forth, as far as hiring additional police. And also, speaking of Berkowitz, the last meeting, I mean, there was some pretty serious allegations as far as him being more or less quote unquote in the back pocket of a convicted felon, that I was hoping he would be here to address. We're all at the meeting, we all heard it, but I guess, you know, he's not here. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks that he'll be here. And also, I mean, since I've been coming to the meeting since August, I haven't actually heard of a report from Commissioner Berkowitz of anything he's actually ever done. I've heard twice, because I've asked specifically for a noise ordinance, and 2 different times he's basically stated that they're looking into pricing for some form of some device to actually measure it. And I
A
mean,
sound meter, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I got Google on my phone, I'd get you 3 prices. So, I mean, I'm not really sure, so I'm picking on Commissioner Berkowitz, but quite honestly, it's like, I mean, I don't see the man doing anything. He's in charge of public safety, people are getting robbed right outside of Town Hall. I know he's sending my wife an email to, you know, talk about like painting buildings, although that's important, I feel when we're getting places robbed, within town, maybe his focus should shift to that. You know, I also hear rumors around town that, you know, really the only reason he wanted to get elected was to get the police chief terminated.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think we should, hopefully Commissioner Berkowitz will watch this video on YouTube, because that's really the only way he sees the meetings. And he could actually come and address some of these issues. Because, I mean, there's crime in the town, and, you know, the police department can't do their job if, while they're fighting crime and everything else they have to do, they've got to constantly worry about one of their bosses trying to terminate them. If that's true, I don't know. I mean, I think most people in this room maybe have heard that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, the last one of the meetings we sat up here, he was supposedly investigating the chief over $20 that was already accounted for. So, that's all I got to say. I'll check out the YouTube videos, and you and I will probably have a conversation at the next meeting about that. Thank you.
I am Caitlin. I'm a town resident and a high school student, and this is my third meeting. And just from what I've seen from the people who run this town, I've been very upset with how the town meetings are run because they are very unprofessional. I just stood in the back of the room and I saw people on their phones, and it doesn't seem like you're paying attention. And Mr. Mayor, it just seems like you don't really care what people are saying when they're getting up here. Like, I know I'm nervous right now. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people are. But it just seems like you don't care, and that's hard to know that the person who's in charge of this town doesn't care about what residents of this town are feeling or thinking. And you had made a comment earlier that you were being investigated by the state police. I would just like to know why.
I think that's best left unsaid.
I just think it
Oh, no.
You're the one that said it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
You
I said
just-
I was investigated, I didn't say what for.
but you brought it up, and it makes me kind of concerned knowing that you're under investigation and you're so-called in charge of this town.
You call me a felon.
Okay, is there anybody else?
Did you need to answer a question.
Yeah.
She asked you a question, Mayor.
What's the question?
Oh, my God.
Why are you being
Can you
criminally
repeat
investigated?
that question louder? Wait, are you
I'm not at
seriously
liberty
asking me
to
what
say
I
that.
asked?
I am not at liberty to say that. That could be a legal matter, and I don't feel that I should reveal that.
Then you shouldn't have brought it up in the first place.
Okay,
That's
I-
right.
There you go.
The future mayor here.
That's right.
She could probably do a better job.
Okay, is there any other questions? I thank you all for coming. I hope you've learned something tonight. I hope that we can all work together and try to rise and shine.
Mayor, I think you owe somebody an apology.
Good evening, Vincent. Oh, I